Hello everyone! My name is Jenna, but you guys can call me Jen, and welcome back to my channel. Welcome to a month-long reading vlog. We are starting another one this go around. You guys, if you've been on my channel for a little while, you will be like, Jen, this is not your regularly scheduled July Friends Pick My TBR month. No, my friends. I got tired of doing that. I have done like 9 or 10 sessions of doing a My Friends Pick My TBR, wherein I usually offer up my entire unread TBR to my friends through a list, a photo, or whatever, and be like, pick me a book to read this. And usually it's a very mixed bag, and I am kind of tired of doing it. I think I might scale it back to just once a year, wherein I start the year with it. So February is usually when I like to do that specific TBR challenge where I try to like also shrink my TBR. But I still want to do something TBR focused this month. I want to switch it up a little bit. And you will have remembered, if you are not new here and you've been around for a little while, in my June reading vlogs, the weekend reading vlogs, I did mention a couple times doing a TBR random number generator situation that was inspired by, for some reason, the trend of the random wheel of shame, if you will, the TBR wheel. That is the new and improved TBR jar, I guess, that has taken over the internet. And I decided to do a couple random number generator TBR things to shrink my TBR. So I started out getting an arc that I've had on my TBR for a little while. It was The Black Heart Man by Neil Hopkinson. That one ended up being a DNF. But in that same video, which you can go see on my TikTok, I ended up also shrinking my 175 book TBR to 163 books, including that Neil Hopkinson, because I went through that entire TBR and did like a little purge off my shelves of some ones that I'm no longer interested in reading. And then I I randomly generated another one, and we got this chunky lady. Today's June 30th. And I am 42% of the way through this. This is gonna take me a while to get through because she's chunky. So what we are going to do for the month of July, my friends, it is going to be a randomly generated number TBR month. We are going to rely on that almost exclusively, and I say almost because I feel like there's like a book club book that I'm gonna have to read. And I know my mood reader ass is going to come in and want to read something specific at some point. But for the majority of the month of July, we are going to be reading off of my physical TBR. We are going to try and shrink it to, let's say, 153 books. Honey. Which is going to be interesting because I also have, I think, 3 pre-orders coming in July. Well, maybe let's not shrink it to 153. Let's shrink it by 10 books.
You've got a big storm coming,
including those 3 that come in at some point. So we shall see what I end up doing. I would like to read at least 10 books this month because I have been kind of falling a little bit behind on my 120 books reading goal for 2025. So much so that I changed my Storygraph one to 100 books so that I didn't see that same like, you're behind thing every time I logged into the app. So I'm a little behind my usual standard of like reading 10 books a month goal, which is totally fine. We're starting the second half of the year with 54 books read, and I'm not mad about that. I would like to definitely hit 100 books by the end of the year, and hopefully 120, because that seems to be the standard for the past couple of years. That seemed to be the standard for the past couple of years. But anyways, we're gonna do a random number generator. I'm gonna double check that 163 is the number of TBR books that I have, and then we're gonna do a random number generator and see what the first book is going to be. So I will report back. Okay, so we ended up on book number 150, and I usually count in the order of added to the TBR, so I just flipped the list upside down and counted 12 down because it's not 163, it's 162 books on the TBR. I forgot to remove one that I read the other day. So we are going to be reading Trial of Lightning by Rebecca Roanhorse. So this is her first of a different series, I believe. I don't know if it's ever been completed or continued or anything, but I have previously read her Black Sun trilogy, or Between Earth and Sky trilogy, which I thought was good. The first book was an absolute banger. I love Black Sun so much, but that whole trilogy as a whole to me is kind of forgettable, which is unfortunate because I know it's a lot of people's people's favorites. So I highly recommend it because I think other people like it just more than I do. It just didn't hit for me. It's kind of like the Greenbone Saga for me. It just doesn't quite hit. We'll see how this one goes. I've heard next to nothing about this one, and I'm happy because it's a pretty tiny book. Let's go to my bookshelf and find it. Momentary interlude for my baby, because look at her. She says, "Pay me like one of your French girls, mama." Look at this baby. Oh. Okay. Trail, not trial. Trail of Lightning. So, this one on the back says, while most of the world has drowned, great, we love a little dystopian, between the sudden rising waters of a climate apocalypse, Dineta, formerly the Navajo reservation, has been reborn. The gods and heroes of legend walk the land, but so do monsters. Maggie Hosky is a Dineta monster hunter, a supernaturally gifted killer. When a small town needs help finding a missing girl, Maggie is their last best hope. But what Maggie uncovers about the monster is much more terrifying than anything she could imagine. Maggie reluctantly enlists the aid of Kai Arviso, an unconventional medicine man, and together they travel the res, unraveling clues from ancient legends, trading favors with tricksters, and battling dark witchcraft in a patchwork world of deteriorating technology. As Maggie discovers the truth behind the killings, she will have to confront her past if she wants to survive. Welcome to the 6th world. All right. That actually sounds really good. I don't think I've ever read the back synopsis of that. So this is going to be our first read of July and of this video, my friends. So buckle in. We're doing some random number generator TBRing this month, and I think it's going to be an interesting one. All right, friends. I'm done the first read of July, and it is still July 1st. How crazy is that? Trail of Lightning by Rebecca Roanhorse. This I have no emotions toward. I'm just, what a weird way to start off a reading month, because I gotta say, guys, I'm thinking about the story and I'm like, yeah, that was a book. That was a story. It was a book. It was well written. I think it was plotted okay. The characters were interesting and diverse and rich. And this is a world full of interesting mythology and have very interesting characters. But I have no emotions towards this book at all. It was very middle of the road as I was reading it. It took me 3 hours to read. And now we're here and I'm done it. And I don't know what to say. I don't know. Like, this is a dystopian indigenous fantasy that feels like I was stepping back into a novel that I've read previously. It felt a little bit like, not Venko, one of Sherry DeMillin's books. It felt like I was stepping into kind of a mashup, I guess, of Marrow Thieves and the Empire of Wild by her, I guess, mixed with like something like River Mama by Zalika Rebenta, because it has like the quest for gods kind of trope, sort of. Like, there's gods who are fucking with people in here, messing with our main character, all this kind of stuff, and it's in a world that is like after a really big, terrible event. It's a very big climate event has happened, and so this world is just like pulled back to its seams. A lot of people are kind of not necessarily creating, but like coming into powers. And our main character Maggie is a monster hunter. Oh, there's a book that I read last year, or that I DNF'd last year, that has a similar vibe to this. I'm gonna put the cover up here if I remember what it's called. It's by two separate authors. And it's about a monster hunter in a very like Geralt of Rivia witchery type of way. And this reminds me of that. This is written a lot better than that one, in my opinion. But yeah, this is a very, I don't know about this one book. I may continue with it, but also I don't know if it's worth continuing, because it seems like this series is not going to go any further than the 2 books there are, even though it was planned to be a 4-book series. Because I like looking on Goodreads and stuff, and it's been like 5 or more years since the 2nd book came out, and there is no word of a 3rd. And I think somewhere in an interview, Rebecca Roanhorse said that this is like on a indefinite hiatus. So I don't think it'll ever be finished. Like, I definitely do recommend it if it at all sounds interesting to you. This is also a book that I think straddles young adult and adult in a very muddy way. It feels, it also feels like Son of a Trickster. I'm trying to remember the books that like it reminds me of that I've read, and it definitely feels a little bit like Son of a Trickster, which I also did not enjoy, but it had a similar vibe to it to that one. Anyways, so I finished this today. One more book down. We're now at 161 books on the TBR. So that means we should generate another one, right? Let's do it. We're looking at a cozy fantasy, my guys. We're looking at Rewitched. Where is that on my shelves? Oh no. Let me go see if I can find it. Book number 53. Ah, I knew it was on this side. Rewitched by Lucy Jane Wood. Okay, a cozy fantasy. I won't say no to that. Let's give it a try. Hello, friends. My air conditioner's just kicked on. It has good timing. I finished Rewitched. Ooh, was it good? I really enjoyed that. Such a lovely, heartwarming read. But I will say, if you're planning on picking it up, pick it up in October. Don't do what I did and pick it up in the middle of fucking July. It is a book that just oozes that warmth and coziness of watching a like Nora Ephron movie. Like, it gave me such Little Shop Around the Corner. What is that fucking bookshop called? From the You Got Mail? Gives me that vibes immediately. It was so good. I really, really enjoyed it. You want some more crunchies? Yeah, it was quite good. It gave me all the warm and fuzzies, you know? It definitely gave more of a, I don't know. Okay, so it follows our main character, Belle, who is a witch who is not very confident in herself or her abilities or anything like that. And she is nearing her 30th birthday. And on her 30th birthday, her coven like reaches out to like retest her on things and to make sure that she's using her magic properly. This happens, this kicks off the novel. And I didn't know where this was going for the most part, because when I was like, you read the back and you kind of get to this point and you're like, okay, is that what the whole book is going to be? Is like her testing? And it's not. It evolves and changes, and I really enjoyed where it went. And it gave me that perfect found family vibes and actual family vibes that are like really strong and well knitted. And I loved the magic of this. I love the friendship of this. And there's a guy in here that reminds me of Arthur from The Holiday. I love him so dearly. He's even got a very similar name. And Arturo is, highly recommend this. So, all right. Second read for this random number generator down, which means we have to roll again. I'm hoping for I didn't even tell you guys. I didn't tell you, but you will have known if you've watched my other vlogs, but I bought some more books. So the TBR has gone up by 6. So though reading Rewitched has brought us down to 160, I added 6, which brings us back up to 166. Before you go, well, Jen, aren't you on a book buying ban? Yes, I am. I have a book buying ban with a stipulation. My stipulation is that I can't buy any brand new books, full price books, until my birthday. So these 4 were off of Facebook Marketplace. So I got all 4 for $20, which, if you know, is less than the price of one of these in Canada because paperbacks are at least $25 now plus tax. So that's exciting. I now have these 4 books on the TBR, which is exciting. We got Paul Bear's Club, The Twisted Ones, Devil House, and Bride. 3 of which, maybe even Bride, but like these all give me very autumnal October vibes more than anything else. So I would like to keep them for like October vibes, but if the TBR deigns to choose them for its game, who knows? And then I did break my book buying ban because I went to the bookstore yesterday and I picked up The Raven Scholar by Antonia Hodgson because this has been plaguing me. I yearn to know what this is about because I heard it's just so funny and fun and like a genuinely good high fantasy. So, and she's chunky, so I picked her up because I need to know. I just need to know. And then I kind of broke my book buying ban with this one, but it was 20% off plus my 10% off that I get at the bookstore. So I bought Bury Our Bones with the Midnight Soil at the Midnight Soil in the Midnight Soil. There we go. And it's a signed edition, which is pretty cool. So I now have this also added to the TBR. So yeah. We are now at 166, so let's spin the generator. I asked for a TBR book that was more recent, and I got one. We got number 20, which is The Cat Who Saved the Library, which is a very cute little tiny little book, which I'm gonna try and read all in one go tonight. 2 books in one day? I think I can do it. All right, lads, done and dusted in a couple of hours. This is cute. It was just fine. It was giving middle grade book, with how the adventure was structured. And also, I think it was probably the translation that did this, but the prose was very simplistic and gave a narrative of a middle grade novel to me. I don't know, but it was fine. It was cute. I mean, who doesn't love a little story about a girl who loves the library and meets a talking cat that has to go save some books? Why not? Why not? Do I understand the actual adventure of it? Not really. It was just kind of a cheeky little story about the power of love and the power of reading and the power of empathy and stuff like that. So a little heavy-handed and all that, but it was fine. It was fine. And our girl had asthma, so unintentionally a read for Disability Month. Hell yeah. So love that. But yeah, Cat Who Saved the Library. Another one down. Let's spin again. It's like the TBR gods are telling me to finish the old books on my TBR. This one is a really old book on my TBR, and upon finishing it, I get to say I finished another series. Hell yeah. Do I remember anything about The Merciful Crow? No, which is the first one. So we're gonna go into this. We're gonna see if we can find a summary online because I don't want to read The Merciful Crow, even though I really liked it when I did. We're gonna read a Margaret Owen. Fuck yeah. All right, I will check back when I've made some progress. Hey friends, it is a couple days later. What is today? July 11th, I think? And I'm coming in to tell you that I did end up rereading The Merciful Crow. I did. I was just like, I was sitting there the other night and I was like, okay, if I want to do this duology, I got to do it right. The last time I read that duology was, or the first book of the duology was in 2020. Girly in 2020 thought that was a 5-star book. Girly in 2020 was wrong. That dropped to a 3.5 star. That's not saying that it's bad, okay? This duology is actually kind of iconic and kind of a banger in its own little way. So The Merciful Crow was published in 2019 and The Faithless Hawk was published in 2020. I've now finished both of these, by the way. I finished both of them, so in like 2 days, I powered through this one night and powered through this one the other night because there's a lot of stuff happening in my personal life and I just needed to lose myself in a book. And I just was like, if I don't finish these in one sitting, I don't know what's, like it felt like there was personal stakes in like not finishing these in one sitting. So I'm glad that I did. But yeah, The Merciful Crow published in 2019. And I love Margaret Owen. And like reading The Merciful Crow originally in 2020 was what made her one of my like kind of almost favorite authors. I don't think I would say that she is now, but I really liked her book Little Thieves as well, and that's one of her newer books, right? So like her writing has just gotten better from this original duology. The Merciful Crow, upon rereading it, I found the writing style so jarring. And I think it's not that the writing style was jarringly bad or anything. It is very specifically written in a way that it feels like it's trying to be old-timey in some areas. It feels like it's trying to be very lightly its own thing. And also the dialogue is very dialect specific. So I don't know where it was. There is a like thing that they keep saying in here that they fouled up or fouled it up. And it doesn't sound right in the sentence whenever it's used to me anyways. Also, it is made worse by the audiobook narrator because she narrates the narration of this style in a completely American accent, nothing crazy. And then every single bit of dialogue has an accent. She chose a very, now I don't know if it's Welsh or Scottish, but she chose a very thick, heavy, rough accent for Fi, our main character, and the crows. And then she like buffs it a little bit into something nicer to hear for like the upper class people that we come across, like the love interest and the prince and all this kind of stuff, right? In that, the audiobook narrator made that made the writing to me a little harder to listen to and to get through. But this is still really good. And I like this first one more after reading the second one because the second one was really good. And like seeing these two as a whole, one whole story, it's a good solid duology. It is a good solid YA fantasy duology. There's nothing like bad about it. Like they're very well structured. They're very well told. The story is interesting. The world building is really well thought out and interesting. And I think they're very, very, very solid. So we love that. I ended up giving the Faithless Hawk 4 stars and the Merciful Crow, as I said, 3.5 stars. So overall, I think this is like a 3.75 4-star duology because of what Margaret Owen does with the world building in the second one and like how she structures it. And I will say, if you're looking for a duology that does not have a cliffhanger in between both books, because I find like a lot of duologies have that, where there's like something that just happens at the very end of the first book to like make you desperate for the second one. This one does not have that. They are both very well structured stories and like branches and arcs of the overall story within each other. They're very good. I quite like this duology for that as well, for like a structure aspect. But anyways, this is a very, this whole duology is a very interesting look at caste systems and oppression and prejudice against people. So in this world, there are different castes of people, as I just said. Like we have right at the beginning of each book, we have a, well, I guess not in this first one, or in the second, in the second one. In the first one, Merciful Crow, we have the map of the castes, the caste legend, right? So we have the phoenixes, and then we have this, and then we have the crows. So the phoenixes are the top, they are the nobility, they are the, you know, crown people, and then the crows are the ones at the bottom. And crows are the ones that do not have any birthright. Everybody else has magic, the crows do not. But there are crows that have witch shit, like there's people who just have like the generic powers, and then there are witch versions of each of these people. And the witches can do more, right? They're more powerful, etc. Crows, the crows who are witches, like our main character Fi, can use the teeth of every other cast member, I guess the bones, but specifically teeth, to create and use that magic. So that's what they can do, and that's what Fi can do. And in this world, the crows have been delegated to the bottom of the barrel. They are hated upon, nobody likes them, all that kind of stuff. They are only kept around because they are the ones who go around and collect plague victims. And without crows, they get, like you said, a beacon if someone has the plague in your town or whatever. And whatever crows are first there have to come in and take that person away. And as soon as that person dies with the plague starts spreading like wildfire in this town. So it's a very weird kind of magical plague. It's very interesting, and it like the way that it expands in the Faithless Hawk is so neat. So the crows go around, they travel the road, and whenever they see a plague beacon, they go where they're called. So they go in and then they collect the body and they burn it, or they go in and deal out mercy, which is they kill the person and then they get them out and whatever. And they are the only caste of people that are free of this plague. They do not contract the plague because they are crows. So this is a story about Fi, who is a crow chief in like learning, I guess, who ends up with her crow band picking up 2 bodies that are royals. They're supposed to be phoenixes. Well, a phoenix and a hawk, and yet they're not actually dead. They faked their death. Like this prince and his hawk, who is his like bodyguard and also his double, they faked their deaths so that they could get out to go like get the king and like get to safety and stuff like this. So they basically task these crows to get them to where they need to go. And eventually it's Fi going on their own journey because of like extenuating circumstances. And it's very interesting politically. The queen is very interesting in the second book. I think she was a really interesting villain, almost to the point of being a little cartoonish, but like interesting in the way that she was spiraling by the end. But yeah, I liked this duology. I'm really glad that this made me read this, and it's another one finished for my like I want to complete 10 series this year, so we love that. I just thought I'd come in and update you on that. But yes, I did end up reading The Merciful Crow, rereading it before going into The Faithless Hawk, but I need to go because my friends are having a barbecue tonight, and which is why I look ready to go, but I wanted to come in and just say that, and I will roll random number generate something else a little later, but on to the next. Hey friends, let's move this tripod back a little. You're very close to me. Hi. It's officially August 1st. This video ended up being such a fail. Like, sure, I did read some good books, I think. I don't even remember what I was reading for this video. I'm gonna be entirely honest with you. All of these TBR, like random number generated books, just vanished from my head. And I think that's a me issue, not the book issue. I truly just think that's my brain. Trial of Lightning, Rewitched, Cat Who Saved the Library, The Faithless Hawk, and then finally I DNF'd Vagabonds. So, okay. Even though it is August 1st, and this weekend is like my editing crunch time for A Favorite Fae because I have to have it done this weekend so that the book is fucking ready. Fucking ready for publication. I would really like to not end this video on a DNF because I also haven't like talked to you guys about why I DNF this. I just picked it up, read 33 pages, and I was like, nah, not for me, which is totally fine. I am such a big advocate of DNFing books and all that kind of stuff. So anyways, let's go over what I read so far, and then I think I'm gonna do one more book just to see if I can fucking turn this around. Also, it is such a fail because I wanted to shrink my TBR, and this month, I shit you not, I added 14 books to my shelves, which is just a little insane. Grant, I have read one of them, but I added these 12, and then one of these squares, it represents 3 books. I added so many books to my TBR. So I started this with like 170 something, and I'm ending it with 170. Like, I shrunk it down, I unhauled books, and then I just kept bringing some in. So we're gonna extend it by like 1 book. We're just gonna say that it was a little bit of a fail. Also because I didn't read as many as I wanted to because of this. Whenever I do my Friends Pick My TBR challenge, which is usually what I do in July, it usually shrinks my TBR by at least 8 books, if not 10 or more. So this, because I only read 4 books properly, technically 5 because I also reread The Merciful Crow, but I had already previously read that one, so that wasn't on the TBR anyways. And then removed a 6th one, I guess. To me, it feels like a little bit of a fail, which is totally fine. It happens. July was kind of a crazy reading month. I did read 10 books, which I have not read 10 books in a month in a while, which is usually my like goal and my average. So yeah, I'm a little behind on my reading goal this year, which is a little unfortunate, and it has not happened to me like ever. Which is totally fine. I ended up changing my Storygraph reading goal to 100 because I didn't want to see that like, you're 6 books behind thing every time I opened up the app. I changed it to 100 so that it tells me that I'm ahead, even though in my brain I know I'm behind, which is totally fine. It's totally fine. If I don't read 120 books this year, it's not life or death. I usually read over 100 every year, and that's fine by me, whatever that number ends up being. As soon as I hit 100 books in a year, I'm like, cool. Everything else is just added extra. So that I'm not too mad about. But the fact that my TBR is so fucking ginormous is what I'm mad about. I haven't actually shrunk anything. Let me pull up Storygraph and let me get the right number, because I ended up adding, I don't remember what the last thing I talked to you about was. I added 3 of Taran Matharu's books that I found on Facebook Marketplace. I added We Could Be Rats by Emily Austin because my friend went to the Moose Jaw Literary Festival and Emily Austin was one of the authors there, and I asked her to pick me up a copy of Emily Austin's book, and she was like, okay, cool, which one? And I was like, I guess her newest one, and then there's one coming out in 2026 that I'm really interested in that I was hoping was gonna be there, but it's not because it's not ready yet. It's a little too early for that. I'm annoyed at myself for my spending habits because I've spent over $200 on books this month, $212.65, which is my most spend, which is my highest spending month on books so far, which is so funny because I'm on a book buying ban. And that book buying ban is no full price books until my birthday. And then apparently my ass was like, that means I can still buy other books, right? Which I did break that book buying ban once with Bury Our Bones and the Midnight Soil and Raven Scholar. And then of course I had my 3 pre-orders come in. And then I was gifted a book. I was gifted an arc of A Mastery of Monsters by Lizelle Sambury. I'm annoyed at myself. That's really what this is. Okay. So, all right, so we are currently sitting at 169 owned books. I would much prefer to be in the 150s, to be honest, but that's just how it is, I guess. So we're gonna do another random number generator, and we're gonna count, and we're gonna do this one last time. And then we're gonna have a final book, and it'll be one of our first books of August, because I am also currently reading an Octavia E. Butler. This is also, I think, a commentary on me as a mood reader, because there are some books that I was like, well, I really want the TBR to pick these so that I can read them, and then they just never did, and I was like, well, I'm just gonna read them anyways, which is why I only read 5 books off of this random number generator thing, and it was only really 4 that I properly read, and a DNF'd one. So anyways, let's go over the ones that I have read. Trail of Lightning by Rebecca Rowan Horace, I gave 3 stars. forgettable, was just fine. Rewitched by Lucy Jane Wood, I ended up giving 4 stars, is also incredibly forgettable. It was very cozy and very sweet and very well done. I have not thought about it a day since after I finished it, so it's probably more of a 3.5 star than a 4, but whatever. Cat Who Saved the Library by Sasuke Natsukawa, I gave 2.5 stars. It was fine. It didn't do anything for me. The prose and structure of it, of the like adventure kind of in the middle, gave middle grade, but like badly structured. It was odd. Probably would have done better as a movie, actually. Like I wrote down in my journal here, like it kind of gave a little bit of a Studio Ghibli movie vibe. Probably would have done better as a Studio Ghibli movie, because that level of like kind of absurdist adventure we got in the middle felt like in a Studio Ghibli movie would. And the audio narrator sucked ass, so it did not work very well. And then I ended up rolling The Faithless Hawk by Margaret Owen, which ended up causing me to reread The Merciful Crow and then go into The Faithless Hawk. When I originally read The Merciful Crow in 2020, I gave it 5 stars. Upon reread, it is a 3.5 star. I don't know what previous me was doing or thinking. Like she was blown away by some shit, because I guess I just wasn't reading good books previously. Hi, baby. You want to be in the video? Come here. You want some razzle dazzle? Some razzle and some dazzle! Look at these fluffy pants. I'm just objectifying my cat at this point for some razzle dazzle. You want this spring? Yeah? She loves a good spring. These feet are fucking sending me. Look at these toe beans. They're so spread wide. I could put a whole spring on it. Anyways. Rereading The Merciful Crow. The writing is so clunky to get used to, because it's not like Margaret Owens' like Little Thieves, which I absolutely loved a couple years ago when I read that one too. So who knows? The writing style of The Merciful Crow has a very specific voice to it. And I think it was like a trying too hard kind of a voice. But once you got into it, it was easier to get into. And it also, I think, was weird because the audiobook narrator narrated everything in an American accent and then had her dialogue in like Scottish, Welsh, Irish, something kind of accents. So it was jarring, really, to have someone do accents for dialogue but not for the narration. Accents, i.e. something that is not like sounding Canadian or American. So it was a little jarring for that as well. So I don't know, like it was a good solid YA book. And honestly, reading the second one, The Faithless Hawk, which I gave 4 stars, made the first one better. Like the duology is great and so solid, and I don't see enough people talking about it, honestly, because it's a little bit of a backlist thing, but it is also still so queer and wonderful, and the magic system in it is so cool. I love cool magic systems, especially when you're having a magic system that deals with teeth. Like, fuck yeah, to something that deals with teeth and with bones. And it, I shit you not, gave me inspiration for my next book that I'm going to do, because I love that idea of like the magic in bones. Like that sounds really cool to me. Anyways, so I would say like the best one out of this whole thing was probably The Faithless Hawk, because I'm glad that I also finished a duology this month, which is another tick on my like finishing series situation that I was trying to do this year. But we ended on a fucking DNF with Vagabonds. And as I said, I've got 33 pages in, and I just knew immediately that this type of story, this structure of a story, and this prose level is just not for me. It is marketed as fantasy. It is so literary fiction. And it's weird. And I think that's why. If you like weird books, give this a try. You might like this. Like, I'm not a literary fiction girly. There are some literary fiction books that I have really loved in the past, but I'm just not one. I just don't like literary fiction. I really don't. I never reach for it. So, like, obviously, if you're on my channel, you know I'm a fantasy girly, but this is marketed as fantasy. So I don't know. I don't know about this one. Hence why I DNF'd 33 pages in. Anyways, we're gonna roll again. I'm gonna do it on my computer this time, because I don't wanna undo you from the tripod to do it on my phone. So we've got Storygraph queued up with 169 books. Random number generator. Mark it for 169. Book number 17. 17. It's a Nisha J. Tooley. It's the second one in the Nisha J. Tooley series. Okay, I see you, TBR. Wizards and universe out there. You're making me read books that I need to actually read. Cool, okay. That's the next one on this, and it'll be the last one in this video. So this is gonna just go into August a little bit. That's just how it's gonna have to be. Hopefully it's like good. I don't doubt that it won't be kind of interesting, because I kind of enjoyed the first one. It was like a 3.5 star for me. So we'll go into it. It's romantasy, The first one was a trial book, so I wonder what's gonna go on in the second one. We'll see. Very readable. I'll chat to you when I have news for that one. Hello, friends. Oh my goodness gracious me. It's officially August 21st. And I'm giving up on this vlog, y'all, because I DNF'd that book. This one. I got halfway through and I'm DNFing it. That was upside down for you, wasn't it? I couldn't tell. My glasses were not on my eyes. Rule of they were working. I'm DNFing it and I'm getting rid of the sequel. So you know what? We're 2 books down on the TBR. And at this point of when I'm filming this, I think I have 165 or 164 books on the TBR because I got obsessed with the Bone season this weekend and I read the first 2 books back to back and also read All This and More off the TBR, and then these 2 were off the TBR, and then I added 2 books because I got a pre-order in and then decided to treat myself to another book. So like, really, this video is such a fail in the stance of like wanting to shrink the TBR. It's fine. It was fun to do. I like the idea of letting fate take over, and fate really had me reading the backlist of TBR this time. With finally finishing the Margaret Owen series and trying the arc that I had on my TBR for a long time. No, that wasn't on this one. And finally reading Trail of Lightning by Rebecca Roanhorse, you know, all those things. And you know what? That's fine. We've also technically gotten another series off the list with this one because I'm just not continuing with this. I couldn't care less, quite honestly, about this series, about like, I could keep reading them because like there is like a very gentle seed of interest, but compared to the first book, like the first book, which is The Trial of the Sun Queen, this one felt like, I don't know, like a typical romantasy to me. There wasn't a lot of sex, there was, but there wasn't a lot of like romance and yearning and whatever. It was a lot of just like survival, focus on the trials, focus on that kind of stuff, and then like romance was on the side a little bit more. So it was more of a fantasy with romance in it, sort of. Not really. Not really, because there wasn't really any like romance in here, but there was like smut and sex and stuff like that. But this one, I am not even kidding you. This is not an exaggeration when I say the man in here, whatever his name is, Nadir, he's hard this entire book. Up until when I stopped, he's hard in every scene. He's talking about it in every point of view he has. And you can just assume that he's hard in every other scene because of how hot and bothered he seems by our main character. Sure, it's supposed to be like enemies to lovers, but like, it's so sexual. So sexual right away. Like the dial from the first one to the second one, it broke. It broke. It tripled, quadrupled, quintupled, times 10, times 100, to be honest, the amount of sex in this one and the amount of just focus on horny. And I could not care less about the characters in here. So we're DNFing it and we're getting rid of the sequel, which I also purchased. It's fine. I bought them on Book Outlet, so it's okay. Although this one I do have signed by the author and I bought it from the bookstore, so I'll probably keep the first one. Well, I don't know. If my friend wants them, if Sophia wants them, Sophia, if you want these, you can have them. Because I know you won't mind that it's signed to me, but what a way to finish this video. Like, it totally went downhill. 2 DNFs at the end. Oh my God. Anyways, my friends, thank you for watching this kind of a kerfuffle fail of a vlog. I hope you enjoyed either way. If you want to see me do more random number generator stuff, let me know. I will do it. It's a good way to shrink the shelves when I'm not actually buying other books. So there's that. Overall, the reading in July was fine. The reading in August so far has been much better. That goes with every month, right? Up and down and backwards and forwards, and things change. So anyways, my beautiful friends, thank you so much for hanging out with me for this entire vlog. I will catch you in another video very soon. Stay kind and keep on reading.